Energy poured through Jake's body like liquid lightning. The Starbridge weapon connected to his mind, and suddenly he could feel everything. Every person on Earth, every ship in space, every planet in the galaxy. The pain was incredible, but so was the power. "Jake!" Zara screamed over the rising hum of the weapon. "The machine is fighting against Krex's corruption." Jake could feel it too. The Starbridge had been built by the ancient Etherians to protect life, not destroy it. For years, Krex had been slowly poisoning it with his twisted energy, trying to turn it into a weapon of death. But now, connected to a human mind for the first time, the weapon was remembering its true purpose. "Impossible!" Krex snarled, his red eyes blazing with fury. "I have been bonded to this weapon for decades. It obeys me." "Not anymore," Jake said through gritted teeth. Commander Vex raised his weapon. "Kill the human, now!" But before he could fire, something amazing happened. The Starbridge's energy flowed through Jake and reached out to every machine in the control room. The Covenant soldiers' weapons simply stopped working. Their armor locked up, making them unable to move. "My turn," Zara said, her golden eyes flaring with power, with the weapon amplifying her abilities. Zara lifted all the Covenant soldiers and threw them against the wall. They hit hard and stayed down. Only Krex remained standing, dark energy crackling around him like black fire. "You cannot stop me, sister," he growled. "I have already begun the draining process. Every world in the galaxy is connected to this weapon now. Their energy feeds into me." Jake could see it happening on the screens around them. Planets across the galaxy were losing their light. Stars were dimming. Billions of people were crying out in pain as their life force was stolen. "Why?" Zara asked her brother, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I am tired of hiding," Krex screamed. "Our people scattered across the galaxy like frightened animals after the war. We became servants, mechanics, healers, when we should have been rulers. With the power of every living world, I will rebuild our empire." Jake felt the weapon's anger growing stronger. Through their bond, he could sense its ancient purpose: to create, to heal, to connect worlds in peace. What Krex was doing went against everything it was meant to be. "The weapon doesn't want this," Jake said. "It's fighting you. Then I will destroy the weapon and take its power for myself." Krex raised his hands, and dark energy shot toward the bonding interface. But Jake was ready. He reached out with the Starbridge's power and created a shield of pure blue energy. Krex's attack bounced off harmlessly. "How are you doing this?" Krex demanded. "You're just a human, a weak, short-lived creature." Jake smiled, even though the energy flowing through him felt like it was burning him from the inside. Maybe that's exactly what this weapon needed. Through his connection to the Starbridge, Jake could feel something that Krex had never understood. The weapon wasn't just a machine, it was alive in its own way. And it had been lonely, corrupted by Krex's hatred for so long that it had forgotten what it was supposed to do. But humans were different from Etherians. Where Etherians saw power and control, humans saw possibility and hope. "Zara," Jake called out, "I need you to help me." "What do you want me to do?" "Touch the interface. Let the weapon feel what it's like to heal instead of destroy." Zara pressed her hands to the bonding panel next to Jake's. Immediately, her golden light mixed with the blue energy of the Starbridge, and something beautiful happened. Instead of draining energy from the dying planets, the weapon began to give energy back. Worlds that had been growing dark suddenly blazed with new light. The Covenant's dying planet, which Krex had been slowly killing, began to heal. "No," Krex screamed. "I will not allow this." He unleashed all of his dark power at once, trying to regain control of the weapon. But Jake and Zara stood together, their combined will stronger than his hatred. "You know what your problem is, Krex?" Jake said, feeling the weapon respond to his thoughts. "You never understood what makes people strong." "And what is that, human?" "We don't fight alone." Jake reached out through the Starbridge's connection to every world in the galaxy. On Earth, people who had been hiding from the Covenant suddenly felt new strength. On Mars, the colonies began fighting back. On distant worlds, entire civilizations joined together to resist Krex's power. But most importantly, Jake felt the presence of the Galactic Council fleet above Earth. They had been losing the battle against the Covenant, but now the Starbridge was giving them exactly what they needed: "This is Admiral Chen of the Galactic Council." A voice came through the control room speakers. "All human and allied forces, we are reading massive energy signatures from Earth's surface. Whatever you're doing down there, it's working." Through the screens, Jake could see the tide of battle turning. Covenant ships were retreating as Council forces pushed them back. On Earth's surface, the invading soldiers found their weapons and armor failing as the planet itself seemed to fight against them. Krex was growing weaker. Without the stolen energy from other worlds, his dark power was fading. "This isn't over," he snarled at Zara. "I am still your brother. I know all your weaknesses." "You're not my brother anymore," Zara said sadly. "My brother died long ago. You're just the shadow he left behind." Krex raised his hands for one final attack, but Jake was faster. Using the Starbridge's power, he created a prison of pure energy around Krex. "Let me go," Krex demanded. "I will," Jake said. "But first, the weapon is going to heal you." "What?" "You've been poisoned by your own hatred for so long, you've forgotten who you used to be. The Starbridge is going to remind you." Blue and golden energy flowed into Krex's prison. At first he fought it, but gradually the corruption began to fade from his eyes. The grayish tint left his skin. For just a moment he looked like Zara's brother again. "Zara?" he whispered, confused. "What have I done?" "You forgot what our people were meant to be," she replied gently. "But it's not too late to remember." The energy prison faded, and Krex collapsed to his knees, no longer a threat to anyone. Jake felt the Starbridge's power beginning to stabilize. Across the galaxy, worlds that had been drained were now healing. The Covenant's planet was green and beautiful again. The war was over, but the effort had cost Jake everything. He could feel his human body failing, burned out by energies it was never meant to contain. "Jake," Zara caught him as he fell. "Did we do it?" he asked weakly. "Yes," she said, tears in her golden eyes. "The weapon is healing instead of destroying. The galaxy is safe." "Good," Jake smiled. "Maybe now people can fix things instead of breaking them." But as his vision began to fade, Jake felt something unexpected. The Starbridge wasn't done with him yet. Instead of letting him die, the weapon began to heal him too, sharing its energy to repair the damage to his body. "What's happening?" Jake asked, feeling stronger. Zara laughed through her tears. "The weapon likes you, Jake Thompson. It wants you to stay alive, but I'm just a human." "A mechanic." "No," Zara said, helping him stand. "You're something new. The bridge between human and Etherian technology. The first of a new kind of guardian." Jake looked around the control room. The screens now showed peaceful worlds and grateful populations. The Galactic Council fleet was helping to rebuild what the war had damaged. "So what happens now?" he asked. Zara smiled. "Now we do what your people do best. We fix things. We travel the galaxy and help worlds that are broken. We show everyone that cooperation works better than conquest. Together? Together. Not as bride and groom, but as partners. As friends." Jake laughed. "I was sent a bride by aliens, and instead I found a best friend and a job fixing the universe. Is that okay with you?" Jake looked at the Starbridge, still humming with peaceful energy. He thought about all the worlds they could help. All the problems they could solve together. "Zara," he said, "I think this is going to be the best repair job of my life." 6 months later, Jake's old repair shop had become the headquarters of the Galactic Repair Service. Ships from across the galaxy came to Earth for help with everything from broken engines to broken treaties. Jake stood in his workshop, working on a Covenant ship's engine while its former enemy pilot waited patiently. Zara was helping a group of young Etherians learn to use their powers for healing instead of fighting. And sometimes, when the work was done and the stars were bright, Jake would touch the small piece of Starbridge crystal he wore around his neck and smile. He had started as just a mechanic on Mars. But now, he was something more. A bridge between worlds. A fixer of things that seemed impossible to repair. And somehow that felt exactly right. Billions of people would die to save their world. Jake felt sick. We have to stop them. But Jake, even if we activate the weapon first, how do we control something that powerful? What if we make things worse? Before Jake could answer, they heard a sound that made their blood freeze. Commander Vex's voice echoed through the tunnel behind them. "You cannot run forever, Key Girl. And you, human, your planet was always meant to be our salvation. Thank you for leading us exactly where we need to be." Jake and Zara ran through the dark subway tunnels, their footsteps echoing off the wet walls. The blue device in Jake's hand grew brighter with every step, like it was leading them somewhere specific. Behind them, they could hear Commander Vex and his soldiers getting closer. Red light bounced off the tunnel walls as the Covenant forces followed their trail. "This way," Zara whispered, pulling Jake down a side passage. "The device is guiding us toward the weapons control center." They moved as quietly as they could, but Jake's heart was beating so loud he was sure everyone could hear it. The tunnel sloped downward, going deeper underground than Jake thought possible. "How deep does this go?" he asked. "All the way to Earth's core," Zara replied. "Your father and the treaty makers built access tunnels when they hid the Star Bridge. They knew someday someone would need to reach it." The device pulsed faster now, and Jake could feel something else, a deep vibration coming from below them, like the planet's heartbeat. "Zara," he said, "what happens if the Covenant gets to the weapon first?" "They'll force me to activate it. Then they'll drain energy from every living world to save their dying planet. Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, billions of people will die." Jake stopped walking. "What if we destroy the weapon instead?" "Jake, the Star Bridge is connected to Earth's core. If we destroy it wrong, the planet could explode, so we're trapped. If we use it, people die. If we destroy it, people die." Zara touched his arm gently. "There might be another way, but it's dangerous. Tell me." "The weapon responds to the user's intentions. If someone with a pure heart activates it, it might be possible to use it to heal instead of destroy." "Someone like you?" Zara shook her head. "My people designed the weapon for war. It might not accept peaceful intentions from an Etherian." Jake understood. "But it might accept them from a human." "Maybe. But Jake, if you're wrong, you could die. Humans weren't meant to bond with Etherian technology." Before Jake could respond, they heard Commander Vex's voice echoing through the tunnels. "Found them. The human and the key are moving toward Sector 7. More sounds followed. Running footsteps, energy weapons charging, orders being shouted in the Covenant's harsh language. "We need to move faster," Zara said. They ran deeper into the tunnels. The walls around them began to change from concrete to metal, then to something that looked like crystal, mixed with circuits. Ancient Etherian technology, hidden beneath Earth for 50 years. The device in Jake's hand suddenly blazed with light, and a section of the wall slid open. "The control room." Zara breathed. They stepped inside and Jake's jaw dropped. The room was huge, with a domed ceiling that seemed to stretch up forever. In the center was a platform surrounded by floating screens showing star maps, energy readings and symbols Jake didn't understand. But what made Jake gasp was what he could see through the crystal floor below them. The Star Bridge itself stretched down into the planet's core, a massive structure of metal and energy that pulsed with the same blue light as the device. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "It's incredible," Jake whispered, "and deadly," Zara added. "Jake, once we activate the control system, there's no going back. The Covenant will know exactly where we are." Jake looked at the device in his hand. His father's words echoed in his mind. "The choice is always yours." "Then we better make this count," he said. Jake placed the device on the central platform. Immediately, the entire room came alive. Screens lit up everywhere, showing images of space battles, dying planets, and the Covenant fleet moving toward Earth. "Look," Zara pointed at one screen. "The Galactic Council fleet is coming to help, but they won't arrive in time." Jake could see hundreds of ships engaged in battle above Earth's atmosphere. Explosions lit up space like deadly fireworks. "The Covenant is winning," he said. "Not just winning. They're preparing to land ground forces on Earth. Once they control the planet's surface, they can force their way down here." Another screen showed something that made Jake's blood freeze. Covenant ships were landing in cities all over Earth. People were running in panic as armored soldiers took control of power stations and communication centers. "They're not just after the weapon," Jake realized. "They're conquering Earth." "It's worse than that," Zara said, studying the readings. "Look at this energy signature. They're already preparing to drain Earth's life energy. Every person on the planet has maybe 6 hours before the process kills them." Jake felt anger building inside him. The Covenant was willing to murder billions of innocent people to save their own world. It wasn't just evil, it was cowardly. How do we stop them? He asked. Zara was quiet for a moment, studying the controls. There is one way. But Jake, you have to understand, if this doesn't work, we might make things worse. Tell me. We activate the star bridge ourselves, but instead of using it as a weapon, we use it to create a shield around Earth. The weapon's energy could protect the planet from the Covenant's draining process. What's the catch? The amount of energy needed would be enormous, and someone has to control it manually. Someone has to bond with the star bridge directly. You mean like becoming part of the machine? Something like that. The person who bonds with it, they might not survive the process. Jake looked at the screens again. More Covenant ships were landing. More people were dying. I'll do it, he said. Jake, no. You're human. Your body isn't designed for this kind of energy. It could kill you. And if I don't try, everyone dies anyway. Jake walked toward the bonding interface, a panel covered with hand-shaped impressions and neural connectors. Wait, Zara said. There's something else you need to know. What? The Covenant leader isn't just Commander Vex. He's working for someone else. Someone who's been planning this for decades. Before she could explain further, the control room's entrance exploded inward. Commander Vex and his soldiers poured through the hole, weapons ready. But Commander Vex wasn't alone. Behind him walked a figure that made Zara gasp in horror. It was another Etherean, but wrong somehow. His eyes glowed red instead of gold, and his skin had a grayish tint. Dark energy crackled around his hands. "Hello, little sister," the corrupted Etherean said to Zara. "Did you really think you could hide from me forever?" Zara's face went pale. "Krex, I thought you were dead." "Dead? No, dear sister. I simply found a better way to use our people's gifts." Krex smiled, showing teeth that looked like metal. "The Covenant offered me power beyond imagination. All I had to do was help them find you." Jake realized with growing horror that this had all been a trap. "You're her brother?" "Was her brother," Krex corrected. "Now I am something much more useful." Commander Vex stepped forward. "Enough talk. Humans, step away from the controls." Jake looked at Zara, then at the bonding interface, then back at the screen showing Earth under attack. "I don't think so," he said. Jake slammed his hands down on the interface. Pain shot through his entire body as alien technology tried to connect with his human nervous system. But as the energy flowed through him, Jake felt something unexpected. Instead of destroying him, the machine seemed curious about him, like it had never encountered anything like a human before. "Impossible," Krex snarled. "Humans cannot bond with Etherean technology." Jake gritted his teeth against the pain. "Maybe that's what makes us special." The screens around them went crazy. Energy readings spiked off the charts, and deep below them, the star bridge began to wake up. "Jake," Zara shouted over the rising hum of power. "I can feel the weapon responding to you, but something's wrong." "What's wrong?" Jake managed to ask. "It's not just creating a shield. It's preparing to do something else. Something bigger." Commander Vex raised his weapon. "Stop him now or we'll never control the weapon." But before anyone could move, Krex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Foolish humans," he said. "You think you understand what's happening here. But this was never about saving the Covenant's world." "What do you mean?" Zara demanded. Krex's red eyes blazed brighter. "The Covenant's planet isn't dying naturally. I've been draining its life energy for years, feeding it to myself. I'm going to use the star bridge to drain every world in the galaxy. I will become a god." Jake felt the weapon's power building inside him. But he also felt something else. The machine was angry. It had been created to protect life, not destroy it. "You made one mistake," Jake said through gritted teeth. "What's that, human? You never asked the weapon what it wanted." Zara looked into his eyes. "I'm here to protect you, Jake, and I'm here to protect something your father left behind." Jake felt dizzy. What did my father leave behind? Something that could save the galaxy, or destroy it. The red ships were almost overhead now. Jake could hear their engines, a deep, threatening sound that made his bones vibrate. "We need to hide," Zara said. But as she spoke, the lights in Jake's shop began to flicker. The newly fixed hoverbike's engines sputtered and died. All around them, machines began to shut down one by one. "What's happening?" Jake asked. Zara's golden eyes filled with terror. They're using a power dampener. It blocks my abilities. She grabbed Jake's hand. Jake, I need you to go to your father's old toolbox. The red one in the back room. Look for a hidden compartment. How do you know about my father's toolbox? Just do it, hurry! Jake ran to the back room, his mind spinning with questions. His father's red toolbox sat exactly where it had been for 13 years, covered in dust. Jake had never touched it. It felt too much like disturbing his father's memory. Now he opened it with shaking hands. Inside were old tools, some papers, and at the bottom a small metal panel that didn't quite match the rest of the box. Jake pressed on the panel. It clicked and slid aside. Inside the hidden compartment was a small device that glowed with soft blue light. Next to it was a folded piece of paper with Jake's name written on it in his father's handwriting. Jake unfolded the paper and read, "Jake, if you're reading this, then they found you. The Covenant is coming. Protect the bridge. The girl will help you, but remember, the choice is always yours. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. Your father, Thomas." Jake stared at the note. "The bridge? What bridge?" He heard footsteps behind him. Jake turned to see Zara in the doorway, her face pale with fear. "Did you find it?" she asked. Jake held up the device and the note. "What is this?" "What bridge?" Before Zara could answer, a loud crash came from the front of the shop. Red light flooded through the windows. Dark figures in black armor began pouring through the broken door. Zara's eyes blazed with golden light, but nothing happened. Her powers weren't working. "Jake," she whispered urgently, "I need to tell you what I really am." The armored figures raised strange weapons that hummed with energy. Their leader stepped forward and spoke in a voice like grinding metal. "Thank you for making this easy. We have been looking for both of you for a long time." The armored soldiers moved into Jake's repair shop like hunting wolves. Their black suits made no sound on the concrete floor. Red lights glowed from their helmets, casting evil shadows on the walls. Jake counted 6 of them, all carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Their leader was taller than the others. When he spoke, his voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Zara of the Etherean bloodline," the leader said, "you have led us on quite a chase." Zara stepped in front of Jake, trying to protect him. But without her powers, she looked small and fragile compared to the armored giants. "Leave him alone, Commander Vex," she said. "Jake has nothing to do with this." "On the contrary," Commander Vex replied. "Jake Thompson has everything to do with this. His father made sure of that." Jake's hands shook as he held his father's note and the glowing device. "What do you want from us?" Commander Vex turned his helmet toward Jake. Behind the red visor, Jake could see eyes like burning coals. "What we want, human, is what you are hiding. What your father spent his life protecting." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Then let me explain." Commander Vex gestured to his soldiers. They spread out around the shop, blocking every exit. 50 years ago, your father helped hide the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. A weapon that could destroy entire star fleets with a single pulse. Jake looked at Zara. "Is that true?" Zara's golden eyes were filled with sadness. "Jake, there's something I haven't told you. Something I should have said from the beginning. Tell me now." Zara took a deep breath. "I'm not just an alien with special powers. I'm not even really just a person." She paused, as if the words were hard to say. "I'm a living key." "A key?" "The weapon your father helped hide. It's called the Star Bridge. It's an ancient machine built by my ancestors, the Etherians, thousands of years ago. The Star Bridge can create doorways between any 2 points in space. It can move entire armies instantly, or it can tear holes in reality itself." Commander Vex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Tell him the rest, Kigo. Tell him why the weapon is so special." Zara's voice became quieter. "The Star Bridge can only be activated by someone with Etherian blood. Someone like me. My people designed it that way to keep it safe." Jake felt like the world was spinning around him. "So you're the only one who can use this weapon?" "Not the only one, but there are very few of us left." Zara looked at the floor. "My people were almost wiped out in a war long ago. The survivors scattered across the galaxy, hiding. Which is why she's so valuable," Commander Vex said. "With her blood, we can power the Star Bridge. We can use it to conquer every world in the galaxy." "That's not going to happen," Zara said, her voice stronger now. "Oh, but it is." Commander Vex pulled out a device that looked like a silver collar. This will drain your life energy slowly. It will keep you alive long enough to power the Star Bridge for years. You will help us rule the galaxy, whether you want to or not." Jake stepped forward, anger replacing his fear. "You can't do this to her. Human, you understand nothing." Commander Vex pushed Jake aside easily. "Your species is weak. You are only good for building things and fixing things. You are servants, nothing more." But as Commander Vex reached for Zara, something unexpected happened. The device in Jake's hand began to glow brighter. The blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. "Interesting," Commander Vex said. "The activation key responds to you, human. Your father was cleverer than we thought." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Zara's eyes went wide. "Jake, your father didn't just help hide the weapon. He bonded it to your family line. Only a Thompson can activate the location signal." "Which means," Commander Vex said with satisfaction, "we need both of you alive." Jake looked at the device in his hand. His father's last message echoed in his mind. "The choice is always yours." "Where is this weapon?" Jake asked. "Jake, no," Zara shouted. "Don't tell them." But Commander Vex was already moving toward Jake. "You will tell us, human, one way or another." That's when Jake made his choice. Instead of answering, he squeezed the device as hard as he could. The blue light exploded outward, filling the entire shop. Every machine in the building roared to life at once. Sparks flew everywhere. The power dampener that was blocking Zara's abilities sparked and died. Immediately, Zara's eyes blazed with golden fire. She raised her hands, and all of Commander Vex's soldiers were lifted off their feet by invisible force. "Impossible!" Commander Vex shouted. "The dampener should block her powers." "Human technology," Zara said with a smile. "You never understood how clever they could be." Jake felt energy flowing through him from the device. Somehow he could sense every machine in the building. He could feel their circuits, their power sources, their potential. "The hoverbike!" he shouted to Zara. She understood immediately. The fixed hoverbike rose into the air, its engines screaming. Jake concentrated, and the bike shot forward like a missile, crashing through the shop's back wall. "Run!" Zara grabbed Jake's hand. They sprinted through the hole in the wall just as Commander Vex broke free from Zara's power. Behind them, they could hear him shouting orders to his soldiers. "After them! They cannot escape. The Covenant must have the weapon." Jake and Zara ran through the storm, heading toward the old part of the colony. Lightning lit up their path as rain soaked through their clothes. "Where are we going?" Jake shouted over the wind. "Your father's signal is guiding us to the weapon's location," Zara replied. "But Jake, there's something else you need to know." "What now?" "The Star Bridge isn't just hidden on Earth, it is Earth." Jake stopped running. "What?" "The weapon is built into your planet's core. Your father and the other treaty makers didn't just hide it. They made Earth itself into the galaxy's most powerful weapon." Behind them, red lights cut through the storm. The Covenant soldiers were catching up. "But that means," Jake said, understanding flooding through him, "if someone uses the weapon wrong, Earth could be destroyed, along with everyone on it." The red lights were getting closer. Jake could hear the whine of energy weapons charging up. "There," Zara pointed ahead. "The old subway entrance. The tunnels will take us to the weapons control center." They reached the entrance just as the first energy blast sizzled past Jake's head. They dove into the tunnel as more shots lit up the night behind them. In the darkness of the underground, Jake could still feel the device pulsing in his hand. It was getting warmer and the blue light was getting brighter. "Zara," he said as they ran through the tunnel, "how do we stop them?" "I don't know if we can," she replied. "But there's something else. Something I should have told you from the beginning." "What?" "The Covenant isn't just after the weapon. Their home planet is dying. They need massive amounts of energy to save it. So they want to drain your life force to power their world. Worse than that, they want to use the Star Bridge to drain energy from every inhabited planet in the galaxy." The storm hit Mars colony harder than anyone expected. Rain pounded against the metal roof of Jake's repair shop like angry fists. Lightning split the red sky, making shadows dance across the walls. Jake Thompson wiped grease from his hands and looked at the broken hoverbike in front of him. Another long day of fixing other people's problems. At 28 years old, he had spent his whole life working with machines. His small repair shop sat at the edge of town, where most people forgot it existed. The clock on the wall showed 11:47 p.m. Jake should have gone home hours ago, but the bike needed to be ready by morning. He picked up his wrench and got back to work. That's when the blue light appeared. At first, Jake thought it was just more lightning. But this light was different. It pulsed like a heartbeat, growing brighter and brighter. The light came from outside, behind his shop. Jake put down his tools and walked to the window. What he saw made his mouth fall open. A ship unlike anything he had ever seen floated just above the ground. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop. Blue energy flowed around it like water. The ship made no sound at all. "What the hell?" Jake whispered. The ship's bottom opened with a soft hiss. 3 figures stepped out, moving like they were floating instead of walking. They were tall, maybe 7 feet high, wearing suits that seemed to be made of liquid silver. Their faces were hidden behind masks that glowed with soft light. Jake's heart pounded. He had never seen aliens before, but he knew that's what they were. Everyone on Mars had heard stories, but most people thought they were just rumors. The aliens walked straight toward his shop. Jake backed away from the window, his hands shaking. Should he call the police? Should he run? Should he hide? Before he could decide, they knocked on his door. 3 soft knocks, very polite. Jake stood frozen for a moment. Then slowly he walked to the door. His hand trembled as he reached for the handle. "Don't be stupid, Jake," he told himself. But he opened the door anyway. The 3 aliens stood in the rain, but the water seemed to slide off their suits without getting them wet. The one in front stepped closer. "Are you Jake Thompson, the mechanic?" The alien's voice was clear and smooth, speaking perfect English. Jake's mouth felt dry. "Yes, that's me. Excellent. We have been looking for you." The alien made a gesture, and the other 2 walked back to their ship. Jake watched them bring out something that made his eyes go wide. It was a pod made of crystal and metal, glowing with the same blue light as their ship. Inside the pod, Jake could see a woman. She looked human, but something about her was different. She was beautiful, with long dark hair and pale skin. She appeared to be sleeping. "What is this?" Jake asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper. The first alien spoke again. "Her name is Zara. She is your bride." Jake stared at the alien. "My what?" "Your bride. This is payment for the debt your planet owes us." "I don't understand. I never asked for a bride. I don't even have a girlfriend." "And what debt?" The alien tilted his head, like he was confused by Jake's questions. "Your people made an agreement with the Galactic Council 50 Earth years ago. The terms are clear. You are Jake Thompson. You are a mechanic. This is your payment." The other aliens carried the pod into Jake's shop and set it down gently on the floor. The crystal began to glow brighter. "Wait," Jake called out. "I don't know anything about any agreement. You can't just leave her here." But the alien was already walking back to the ship. "Take care of her, Jake Thompson. Her safety is very important to the galaxy." "What does that mean?" Jake shouted over the sound of the storm. The alien paused at the ship's entrance. "You will understand soon enough. But remember this. She is not what she appears to be, and neither are you." The 3 aliens disappeared into their ship. The blue light grew brighter, and then the ship lifted into the stormy sky. In seconds it was gone, leaving only the sound of rain. Jake stood in his doorway, staring at the empty sky. His mind tried to make sense of what had just happened. Aliens had given him a woman in a pod. They said she was his bride. They talked about debts and agreements he knew nothing about. He turned and looked at the glowing pod in his shop. As he watched, the crystal began to fade. Cracks appeared along its surface. The woman inside opened her eyes. They were golden like liquid sunlight. She looked at Jake through the crystal, and he felt something strange happen in his chest. Like electricity, but warm. The pod opened with a soft sound. The woman sat up slowly, still looking at Jake with those impossible golden eyes. "I'm sorry you got pulled into this," she said, her voice soft and sad. Jake opened his mouth to ask her 1,000 questions. But before he could speak, something incredible happened. Zara's eyes began to glow brighter, and all around the shop, every machine started working by itself. The broken hover bike's engine roared to life. Tools began moving through the air. Sparks flew from welding machines that no one was operating. Jake stumbled backward, his heart racing. "What are you?" Jake watched in shock as his repair shop came alive around him. The broken hoverbike floated 3 feet off the ground, its engine humming perfectly. Tools danced through the air like they had invisible hands controlling them. Welding sparks flew in perfect patterns, fixing cracks in metal that Jake had been working on for days, and in the center of it all stood Zara, her golden eyes glowing brighter than the storm outside. "Please don't be afraid," she said, stepping out of the crystal pod. Her feet didn't make any sound on the concrete floor. "I can control it." Jake pressed himself against the wall, his heart beating so fast he thought it might explode. "Control what? What are you doing to my machines?" Zara raised her hand, and slowly, all the floating tools settled back into their places. The hoverbike landed gently on the floor. The welding stopped, but the bike's engine still ran smoothly, something that had been broken for 3 weeks. "I can fix things," Zara said simply. "It's what my people do." "Your people?" Jake's voice cracked. "You're not human, are you?" Zara looked sad. "I am and I'm not. It's complicated." She walked over to Jake's workbench, where his oldest wrench lay broken in 2 pieces. The handle had snapped off months ago, but Jake kept it because it belonged to his father. Zara picked up both pieces and held them in her hands. The golden glow flowed from her eyes down to her fingers. The metal pieces began to move toward each other. In seconds, they joined together perfectly. The wrench looked brand new. "How did you do that?" Jake whispered. "My people have a connection to machines and technology," Zara explained. "We can understand how things work just by touching them. We can make broken things whole again." Jake took the wrench from her hands. It felt solid and strong, better than when his father first bought it. "This is impossible." "Many things that seem impossible are real, Jake." Zara sat down on a metal stool, just like the agreement your planet made with the Galactic Council. "Everyone keeps talking about this agreement." "I don't know anything about it." Zara looked surprised. "They didn't tell you?" "Your government signed a peace treaty with us 50 years ago. Earth promised to provide technical support to the galaxy in exchange for protection from hostile species." Jake shook his head. "I never heard any of this. Most humans don't know the full truth. Your leaders thought it was better that way." Zara stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the storm. "But the council didn't choose you randomly, Jake. They chose you specifically." "Why me?" "I'm just a mechanic. I fix hoverbikes and coffee makers because you're Thomas Thompson's son." Jake felt like the floor had dropped away beneath him. "You knew my father?" "Not personally, but his name is well known among the council. He was one of the humans who helped create the original treaty." Jake stared at her. His father had died when Jake was 15. Thomas Thompson had been a simple repair shop owner just like Jake. He never talked about aliens or galactic councils. He just fixed things and taught Jake how to use tools. "That's impossible," Jake said. "My dad was just a regular guy." Zara walked back to him. "Jake, there are things about your father that you don't know. Things he hid to keep you safe." "Safe from what?" Before Zara could answer, she stopped talking and turned her head toward the window. Her golden eyes went wide with fear. "What is it?" Jake asked. "They found us faster than I thought they would." Jake looked out the window. In the distance, he could see lights in the storm clouds. But these weren't the gentle blue lights of the ship that brought Zara. These were red, angry, and getting closer. "Who found us?" Zara grabbed Jake's arm. "The Covenant Empire. They're the reason I was really sent here." "I thought you were sent here as my bride." "That was just the cover story." Zara's voice was urgent now. "Jake, I need to tell you something very important. Those aliens who brought me here, they lied to you. I'm not here to be your bride. I'm here to protect something." The red lights were getting closer. Jake could see they belonged to ships, dark, angular vessels that looked nothing like the peaceful craft that had brought Zara. "Protect what?" Jake asked.